So we're moving on in our series, Relationships God's Way. And last week we started out, this is our verse that we're using as sort of our basis when we talk about relationships. It's the first one on the first page that you have nice and big. And this is my prayer, that your love may abound more and more in knowledge and depth of insight, so that you may be able to discern what is best and may be pure and blameless until the day of Christ. Last week, we broke down the different Greek words that were in this verse, seeing what each word meant to sort of give us a better idea of what kind of love Paul is talking about, what kind of love he desires for us to have. And this is the love that we're going to be basing our relationships on. We talked about 4 different loves, and agape was one of them, an unconditional God type of love. And that's the type of love that we're talking about. Now, in talking about relationships, there is an eros love there, an erotic love, a love between a husband and wife that we are going to be talking about. But the basis that we want for all our relationships, including that relationship, starts with this kind of love that Paul is talking about here. So we broke down a bunch of Greek words, we went through it, and then we talked about what do you think are the 2 most important decisions of your life. The first one being your decision to accept and receive Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior and to follow him. Because that decision lays the foundation for every other decision that we have in life. Everything else that we do will be based upon that decision. This is on page 2 of your notes if you're looking. The second most important decision that you can make is the process you choose to discover who you will spend your life with. We talked about how this is different than just saying who you're going to marry. Because that's not just what is important, just who you're going to marry. How you choose who you're going to marry is important. Because as you go through that process and finding out who you're going to marry, it's going to shape you. It's going to change you. It's going to make you into the person that you're going to be once you finally get married. So that process is very important. I shared with you guys the scripture, Romans 12, 1 and 2. It says this, "Therefore I urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." Right below that, you'll see it says this, "God and society each have a standard for you to live by. But these 2 standards are in opposition to each other." So we're going to be comparing these 2 standards as they relate to guy and girl relationships. And what we're going to be talking about tonight is sort of the world's view. We're going to be talking about how God views relationships. But first we're going to look at what the world does with relationships. Society frequently tells us that by the time you're a teenager, you should be dating. What? Society frequently tells you that by the time you're a teenager, you should be dating. Many parents accept this idea and they feel that they have to let their son or daughter date. At the same time, the teen welcomes or feels the pressure to date. Our society expects you to be pairing off into romantic relationships, sometimes several of them, without a thought of the future, without a thought of marriage, without a thought of purity. Society wants you to believe these relationships are harmless. And so what we're going to be looking at starting tonight are the 7 habits of highly defective dating. The 7 habits of highly defective dating. These are from a book called I Kiss Dating Goodbye. There's a bunch of good stuff in that book, but there's some stuff I'm not crazy about. But this here in chapter 2 that I'm going to be sharing with you, everything I pulled out, I think is really good and gives us an idea of how the way that the world dates is not very healthy. And so we're going to be going over that tonight. And so our first fill in the blank that I have for you guys tonight is this. It is dating leads to intimacy, but not necessarily to commitment. Dating leads to intimacy, but not necessarily to commitment. Can anyone tell me what intimacy is?
Yeah, hugging, kissing, stuff like that.
Hugging, kissing, stuff like that. Anyone else have any other definitions? Okay, there are different types of intimacy. That's good. What can you give me a little bit more? How are there different types of intimacy?
Gift giving, just spending time with your partner. It's just like stuff that you do for your partner in that moment.
Okay, so you say it's stuff that you can do for your partner. Can we use it outside of a partner context?
Yes. Well, yeah.
Okay. That's right, so it's intimacy. It's a closeness that you have with someone else. Okay, now you start off by saying like some physical things, so there could be physical things. A lot of times when people talk about intimacy today, it can be like, oh yeah, intimate, you know what I'm talking about? You know, that sort of intimacy. But we can have intimacy to a degree. We want you to have intimacy here at Youth Group. We want you to form relationships, to be close to other people. We want you to have intimacy with God. We want you to have a close relationship with Him. And so in the same way that you might have intimacy with a friend, you can have intimacy with someone of the opposite sex, you can have intimacy with someone at church. When we're talking about that sort of intimacy here, I am talking about that, but I'm also talking about physical intimacy to a degree. It can be both, but it doesn't have to be. Some of you guys are going to take this in different directions, and that's okay. Because we all have different experiences, we've been through different things, we've seen different people do different things, and this isn't like a catch-all. So some of you might think of dating leads to intimacy, you could think dating leads to sex, but not necessarily to commitment. Yeah, that's true. But one of the biggest things that it leads to closeness with another person. And here's the thing about dating. The purpose of dating is mainly to have fun. Because if you go on a date and the date is not fun, someone's going to be like, well, it was a failure. It didn't work because I didn't have fun. No one goes, how can I work on this date? I'd really like to work. No one does that. They want to have fun. They want to relax. The purpose of dating is fun. It's not about commitment. It's not about getting to know someone, though that might be a secondary thing. But it's to create a fun experience that is enjoyable between two people. The thing is, when people do fun things together, it brings them closer together. It creates intimacy. It builds their intimacy. They share secrets. They bear each other's hearts to each other. In dating, by the way, there could be some hand-holding because, well, that's what you do when you're on a date sometimes, right? But everyone knows that hand-holding leads to kissing, and kissing leads to pregnancy, and then pregnancy leads to death. So, sorry. Okay, your parents wanted me to tell you that. That's what it says right here. So basically, the main idea is this: never start holding hands, or else you're going to get pregnant and die. So here's the thing. Just let you know, I am kidding, but I'm only kidding a little bit. What? Because once you start on a slope of intimacy, there's something within us. As human beings, we're made to desire more in everything. If you win a championship, you want to make it back to back. If you are moving forward in a relationship, you want to move forward in the relationship. And so if you're stagnant, if you're staying in one place, there's something within us that wants to keep pushing forward. And so we do have to be careful when it comes to intimacy, because once we start to open that door of getting closer to someone, we kind of want to, this feels good. I like these feelings. And then sometimes we kick the door wide open, and then we get in so deep, and we end up hurting ourselves later on. Dating will bring people closer together. That is true. But it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a commitment on one or both people's ends. The relationship can end in a moment's notice. Just like that, it's over. There's no guarantee of commitment. And I've seen it frequently. People who are all wrapped up into each other's worlds. And then 4 months later, they can't even stand the sight of the other person. They go, man, I hate her. I can't stand her. And I'm like, a few months ago, you were like googly-eyed over each other. How did this happen? They can't even stand being in the same room with that person. And then, a few months later, I'll find that person repeating the same thing with somebody else. That's what we're trying to avoid, by the way, as we're going through this process, to get away from those things. People say that they get their heart broken over and over again being in these intimate and close relationships, and they eventually get to a point where they say, you know what, I'm not sure I ever want to go through this again. I've been burned too many times. It hurts. And it gets difficult for them to be in a long-term committed relationship. This is why at the very beginning I went back and said that the process that you use to choose how you're going to marry is important. Because if you go through relationship after relationship after relationship, and you're getting in these quick things, and you're dating and connecting your heart to someone and getting intimate, and then it's being torn apart, it's going to hurt. And you're going to be dealing with baggage eventually. Second thing that I have for you guys is this. Dating tends to skip the friendship stage of a relationship. Dating tends to skip the friendship stage of a relationship. Now, as I play this video, I would like you to listen, because maybe not everyone has heard or seen it before. So please just watch. And this will talk about how dating tends to skip the friendship stage of a relationship.
Hang on. We like to go fast.
I like fast.
Whoa. Get your feet down. This is fresh lacquer. Seriously, were you raised in a barn?
No, I was raised in a castle.
So, tell me, what made the queen go all ice crazy?
Oh, well, it was all my fault. I got engaged, but then she freaked out because I'd only just met him, that day, and she said she wouldn't bless the marriage.
Wait, you got engaged to someone you just met that day?
Yeah, anyway, I got mad, and so she got mad, and then she tried to walk away, and I grabbed her glove.
Hang on. You mean to tell me you got engaged to someone you just met that day?
Yes, pay attention. But the thing is, she wore the gloves all the time. So I just thought maybe she has a thing about dirt.
Didn't your parents ever warn you about strangers?
Yes, they did. But Hans is not a stranger.
Oh yeah? What's his last name?
Of the Southern Isles.
What's his favorite food?
Sandwiches.
Best friend's name?
Probably John.
Eye color.
Dreamy.
Foot size.
Foot size doesn't matter.
Have you had a meal with him yet? What if you hate the way he eats? What if you hate the way he picks his nose?
Picks his nose.
And eats it.
Excuse me, sir. He is a prince.
All men do it.
Ew. Look, it doesn't matter. It's true love.
Doesn't sound like true love.
Okay. Spoilers. If you haven't seen Frozen, you need to watch Frozen. I'm just going to say. But I think you guys who have watched Frozen, then me showing you this clip, can understand the idea of dating tends to skip the friendship stage of a relationship. And what happens is you don't actually get to know who someone is and what they're about, and they'll try to kill you at the end. Okay, well, that just here, but not always. You will die. That is true. I did say that. So I have a personal story that I want to tell you guys. Just to let you know, I hate this story. I do not like telling it because it was when I was very, very stupid. I am telling it because I have hope that you will not make the same mistakes that I have made. Sometimes it's difficult. I'm glad that you laugh, because I actually, in my notes I have here, sometimes Katie hates it when I talk about this stuff because I share about all the mistakes I've made. But now, I guess it's good that you're laughing now, so there you go. But anyway, I want to let you know, it's not fun to tell your future spouse. It's not fun to tell your future spouse about all the mistakes that you've made. And as we go through this series, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the mistakes that I've made in life. This is why we're going through this. I'm hoping to spare you some of that pain. So I want to tell you about my first girlfriend. No. And actually, I can say my first real girlfriend, because, Amaya, I'm going to need you to move if I see you talk or hear any more noise out of you again, okay? I might have Nolan scoot over and have you sit right next to Mr. Dante. Can you stop? Thank you so much, because you're actually even distracting me. Thank you. So anyway, this is about my first real girlfriend. I did have a girlfriend for like 2 weeks on the bus in 6th grade, but that was like fake and didn't even, it's like whatever. But this is about my first girlfriend. So I'm going to tell you about Susan. So here's the deal. I was in 9th grade. I was at a new school and I was excited. It was a fresh start. Middle school was the absolute worst for me. I hated it. Barely had any friends. New school, new start. Things are going great. I'm eating with the weird kids outside at lunch. Yep, there you go. Katie was a weird kid too. So, and I'm making friends. And then there's Carly. Let me tell you about Carly. Carly was so beautiful. She had this long, brown, like crinkly hair and these brown eyes. What's funny now is like, thinking of her now, that girl is ugly. Like, but ugly. Bugly. She is just, but back then, this girl, she was smoking. Can I say it to my wife?
No. Wait, what grade was you in?
9th grade.
Oh, I wasn't there yet. Okay.
No, you weren't there yet. No, you weren't. Okay, so anyway, here's the thing about Carly. I decided I was going to ask Carly to homecoming. We've been at school for about 3 weeks. Homecoming was probably about 5 weeks away. Everyone's asking people. I'm like, I'm going to do it. Why not? New school, new person. Like, I'm going to do this. And I go up to Carly and I go, hey, I was wondering, homecoming is coming up, and I was wondering if you'd like to go with me.
Didn't you have a girlfriend now?
No!
I'm telling the story. Let me tell the story. I'm getting there. Wait, just wait. You'll find it. I'll get there. And so it's like, interrupt my thing. Where was that? Oh yeah. So I was like, I like to go, and she says, well, here's the thing. I don't really like dancing. I'm not big into it. I was like, that's okay. I can't dance yet. Yeah, but I don't really feel like going. I was like, okay. But then she said, but my friend Susan, she really wants to go. So maybe could you ask her? And I was like, okay. I was thinking about it. Back when I was in high school, there was a musical group, and they had a song. And one of the lines in the song was, if you want to be my lover, you got to get with my friend. Okay, good. You guys know it too. If you want to be my lover, you got to get with my friends. And I was like, hey, if I want to get with Carly, I'll get with her friends. This is a good impression. Carly will look at me, oh, he's so sweet for going out with my friend. That was my thought. So I go up to Susan and I was like, hey, Susan, I heard that you want to go to homecoming and you didn't have anyone. I was wondering if you would like to. Yes! And I was like, oh, Dad. This girl, she packed. I was like, okay. So that was a Monday. By the end of the week, I don't know how this happened. By the end of the week, somehow we were boyfriend and girlfriend. We were dating. It was one of those, well, I guess we're going together, and then we're always sitting next to each other now at lunch instead of just like part of the group. And then, she grabbed my hand or something. I was like, let's be boyfriend, girlfriend. Oh, okay. And I was like, what is happening? I just went with it. That was September. I had October, November, December, January. I'm still dating Susan. By the way, let me backtrack a little bit. Homecoming. Homecoming was in October, and you know who was there? Carly. And you know who she was there with? Jason.
No!
Anyway, I don't like that. Just go with my friend. Yeah, she got uglier as time went on. But anyway, back to where I was. All of a sudden, I found myself in a relationship that I wasn't planning on being in. And it just sort of happened. I didn't have a plan, and then we're just dating. And by the way, I just knew that, I met her, I knew her for 3 weeks. I didn't really know her. And then we just dive into the relationship. And we're there, and nothing's really bad. There's nothing really wrong. But I'm like, what am I doing? And February rolls around, and I'm looking, and I'm starting to get serious about my faith at this time, too. I'm getting more involved in church, and I'm stepping back, and I'm looking, and I'm like, Susan's Jewish. I'm Christian. Where is this going? There's nothing wrong, but where's the ending point? Am I going to get married to Susan? No. But then why am I here? What am I doing? And I slowly realized that I was not in a good position. I just jumped in, and there I was. And so I decided I had to break up with Susan. So this is what I did. I called Susan.
There's a lot of problems with the story, but the fact you broke up.
Okay. Well, let me tell the story. Let me tell the story. Let me tell the story. It's my story, not yours. I hope you never have one like this. But anyway, so I called Susan up, and I get her answering machine. Now, back then, it was at home, you didn't have a voicemail. It didn't go to your voicemail, and then you could check on your phone later. It went to the family answering machine. And so when you got home, you would go home, and you would click the button, and it'd be like, you have 3 messages. And it'd be like, hey, pick up your dog's medication. And then, hey, honey, I'm coming home from the grocery store or whatnot. And then beep. And then I call, and I go, hey, Susan, this is Tom. I see that you're not there right now, so I guess I'll talk to you at school later. And I hung up. Except, that's not what I did. That's what I should have done. What actually happened was this. Hey, Susan. This is Tom. I wanted to talk to you about something, but you're not there. But, and in my head, I'm like, it took a lot of courage for me to get to this point. I'm like, so, I was just thinking, I feel like you and I are kind of in different directions. You're Jewish, and I'm Christian, and I don't really know if we should be dating, so I think maybe we should break up. I'll see you at school tomorrow. Bye.
Was she heartbroken? Jessica's
I told you I'm not proud of this story. I'm not proud of this story.
See why?
And that's how I broke up with Susan. Not cool, right?
Yeah.
You're good. Okay, I am not the person I was 24 years ago. 25, 24, 20, 24 years ago.
How old are you?
28. So, anyway.
Oh, you were born in ninth grade.
I'm the same age as Mr. Dante. So, listen up. That's besides the
How old are
point.
you?
28.
Besides the point. I broke up with Susan. I did in one of the worst ways possible. And here's what happened to Susan. I want you to hear what happened to Susan. Susan kind of went off the rails when it came to her in relationships. She went off the rails in relation to her and religion. There were times so she went she was bisexual, and then she was gay, and then she went back straight. She went all around there. She then got involved in the occult. She, at one time, worshipped Zeus. I kid you not. I look back, and I ask myself the question, what Christians did she have in her life? Who did she have to show her Jesus? Oh, that kid who I dated back in ninth grade, who went on to become a pastor. The one who said, I can't be in a relationship with you because you're Jewish and I'm Christian. You know what she heard on the phone when I called and left that? It was, you're Jewish, I'm Christian, I'm better than you, I can't be with you. Now that wasn't what I meant, but that's what she heard. That's what she felt. And she's made destructive decisions throughout her whole life. And I see it go by. And I go, what if I was different? What if I treated her differently? I totally skipped the friendship stage. I was like, hey, we're doing something fun. Let's just dive into this. And dove in and ended up getting hurt. And so that's why I share that story with you, because I don't want you guys that to happen to you. When you are friends, you can be yourself without worrying whether or not the other person likes you. When you go out on dates, you have to worry about what the other person thinks. The most important thing is this: I really want them to like me. So what can I do to make them like me? I want him to think I'm pretty. If you do something where you are stupid or you screw something up, you've ruined the date. So people frequently, they don't act like themselves when they go on dates. They cover it up. They're not real. And I was lying, not just to Susan, but also to myself about who I was those first few months at my new school in ninth grade. I was putting on a face, and it wasn't really who I was. People act like who they think the other person will like, and they can be completely different. So when you skip the friendship stage, you have to worry about impressing the person that you're dating all the time. Ladies, you have to make sure that you look good all the time. Your hair is done, your nails are done, you smell decent every single time. Guys, a shower would probably be good, but the big thing for you is you gotta act nice.
What are you trying to say?
You gotta seem cool. Just roll with me. Your hair, clothes need to be just right. You need to make sure that you have the right outfit, and it's a lot of work to keep that image up. But here's the thing. If you are already friends, that stuff doesn't matter. Yeah, you can get dressed up, but you don't have to. Because they already know who you are. They already know what you're about and what you're like. How can you know what someone is going to be like for the rest of your life if you've known them for less than a year? So much can change in just a few months' time. And most of the time when I see teens getting into relationships, it's with someone that they've known less than a year, sometimes even less than 6 months. The thing about teenagers is that they are really different. And I want you to understand this. This is one of the reasons why I am in youth ministry, because the ability for change is so great within all of you. That's the thing about teens. They change very quickly. Who you decide to be changes a lot during your teenage years. And it changes very quickly, more than any other phase in your life. Teenagers change quicker than anyone else. You might go through a goth phase. You might go through a jock phase. You might just go through these different phases. You don't see adults doing that as much as teens do. You might gain confidence to become someone who's really good at public speaking. It's nearly impossible to know what you guys are going to be like right now because you're going to go through many changes in the next few years. In fact, some of you, I'm looking at some of you now, I remember when you first came into youth group at 6th grade, and I was like, I can't stand that brat. And now I'm like, hey, you're kind of cool now. No, you're not. Don't worry. Here's the thing. You are going to change. And so if you're trying to find out if you're going to spend the rest of your life with someone, why would you try to do that in the period of time when you're going to be changing the most in your entire life? Colin, Dante, and Kara, they're going to be pretty much the same 20 years from now. There'll be some differences, some changes in them, but sort of who they are and what they're like, you can know. You guys are going to be completely different. I look back at my teens from when I started youth pastoring 14 years ago, and some of them, they're hitting age 30 now, and they're completely different. It's going to happen with you guys too. All of you, I have no clue what you might be like even 5 years from now, even 2 years from now. Some of you are going to be bolder. Some of you are going to be stronger. Some of you are going to get bigger. Some of you are going to be like so laser-like focused on school or a sport. It's going to be amazing to see your discipline. Okay, some of you may get quieter. Some of you may get meaner. It's impossible to know what you guys will be like because I've only known some of you guys for a few years. But I'm excited at the positivity that I see. But here's the thing. I don't know what you're going to be like. And so that applies to everyone in your age group. Why would you jump into a dating relationship with someone, skip the friendship stage when you don't even know what they're going to be like? It's just not a good idea. Number 3, dating often mistakes a physical relationship for love. When people date, they frequently hit milestones. Oh, we've been together for a week. Oh, we've been together for a month, for 2 months, for 3 months. And this is something that I hear frequently. Not as much now because I'm a youth pastor and people don't talk about it around me as often, but I know what it's like. If things aren't happening physically by a certain milestone, the relationship is seen as a failure. Dude, you've been going out for 2 months and you haven't even kissed her yet?
Hey, you a loser.
Wait, you guys have been going out for 4 months and you haven't gotten fill in the blank yet? There's this idea that, you know what, if you are in a relationship for a certain amount of time, there's a certain physical element that goes with that time. And so if we've been dating this long, we should be here physically, whatever that might be. Different people have different ideas. The problem is, just because you're physical, it doesn't mean that love is taking place. Society says this: if we're having a loving relationship, then physical things need to be happening. Dude, if you're not getting any, then there's something wrong. She's not in love with you. And some girls will say, like, listen, if I'm not putting out, then I'm not going to get love back. And that's a lie. Okay, society tells us that you need to be physical in order to have a loving relationship, and that is not true. One thing I want you guys to write down, this: just because lips have met doesn't mean hearts have joined. And the blank space underneath number 3. I gave you guys some space in between, so if you want to write notes, like under number 2, you can write Pastor Tom was dumb and how he broke up with Susan. You know. You don't have to write it, but these notes are for you. Because one time you're going to be looking back and you're going to know someone who was in a relationship and you can be like, oh, hey, now I can see that, yeah, this is true. Just because lips have met doesn't mean hearts have joined. If I do this physical thing, he'll love me. It's not true. Some people are not in it for love, they're in it for the physicality. Now I've heard this a lot. I just want to say, there are some people say, all boys are like this, they're just in it for this. That is not necessarily true. Okay? There are a lot that are. Some people will say this. They say, we kissed, it was special, and it just felt right. I could tell our love was true because of how I felt when we kissed. And that hurts me. Because I go, people feel the butterflies in their stomach, and they get warm fuzzies, and the other person, they go out to their friends, and they're like, yo, I got some, man! We made out last night, it was cool, it was awesome. Do you love her? Do you love her? Psh, nah, I'm just getting some. And there's that girl who said, you know what? It felt so right just when we kissed. And so they were lied to. They were lied to by their own feelings. Just because physical things are happening doesn't mean that there is actual love. Just because lips have met doesn't mean hearts have joined. Remember the love that we're reaching for. It is agape love, which is an unconditional love, an unselfish love. It's not an erotic love. Now that does happen in a marriage relationship down the road, but like I said, that's down the road. And that love happens best after the unconditional love, Amaya, after that unconditional love is already in place. We're talking about the process here. Don't assume, well, listen, we're physical with each other, so I guess that means things are okay. That's not true. That's a bad assumption to make. It's a terrible test of whether or not a relationship is healthy. If you can have a good relationship without having any physical intimacy at all, then that is the truest test of a healthy relationship. The guy who wrote the book that I'm getting these 7 highly defective, what is it? Habits. Highly defective dating habits from. Listen, he came up with these habits. He had his first kiss with his wife when they got married. At the altar.
Oh, wow.
My parents had that.
Your parents did that too?
But like that wasn't his first kiss, but their first.
But their first kiss? Props to your dad. I had a friend from college.
That's what we just said. That's what we just said. No.
That was their first kiss. That's cool. That's cool. I had a friend from college. Her first kiss with her husband that she dated for a couple years, it was at the altar. That was her very first kiss. Now some of you might be going, listen, Pastor Tom, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if I could do that, but here's the thing. Their love is not based upon physicality. She's never going, I wonder if he likes me because I'm putting out. Some of you might go, well, listen, what if he or she is a bad kisser and then you're stuck with him?
Why does that matter?
Some people might want to marry someone who can kiss. But I have good news. Practice makes perfect. And you have the rest of your married life together to practice kissing. Some of you might say this too. Listen, you might go, listen, Pastor Tom, what if his breath stinks? And when you're at the altar, you get up and you're about to kiss him and you're like, whoa, listen, shh. This is for real. This is what unconditional love is. Unconditional love is, listen, hey baby, yeah, your breath stank. I love you, but we need to work on that. Here's a mint. Okay? We're going to make sure that's cleared up next time you try to come kiss me again. Okay. Now here's the thing. He feels loved because she was sweet and nice to him. Okay? He's not shut down. He's not shot down. It's like, oh, but he's also going, I got to work on this. Here's what I want you to understand. A relationship like that is not based on physicality. It's based on, they're going to love me no matter what. Now, guess what? When you're in marriage, you can work on physicality. You can practice those things because that's what a husband and wife can do. But if you're basing the health of your relationship on whether or not physical things are happening, you're missing the point. Okay? Just because you're physical doesn't mean that there's love. It would be real easy for someone to, go downtown and pay someone for some physicality. Quick question, is that love?
No!
So why would it be the same in a dating relationship? Okay, I think that is a good place to stop for tonight. Let's pray. Father God, we come before you right now, and I ask that you would help every person here to understand what you have for them. To understand that you have given them life, that you've given them a purpose, that you have given them other people to have in their lives, to have relationships with. I ask that you give them wisdom and how to have those relationships. As we continue through this series, Lord, I ask that you keep us from the pitfalls where society says, live this way, let this be your standard. We'll say, no, my standard is what God wants for me. And then we'll reap the benefits of that. So I ask that you place that in every person here. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.